Hello, my friends. There we are again.
Good morning.
Before I ask whether somebody want to come in immediately, I talk about something Diana wrote me. It had to do with the last conversation in the last Satsang when Mark was talking about his relationship with his father. And then Diana felt very inspired and said, it's so difficult these times to be able to connect with the self. When she's with people, many times she feels like so sad and tense when she sees what's going on. And after that, often she says she feels like her body feels beaten up. And unfortunately, this is a very common thing now. It's intense right now. It's an intense time. There has been such an intense propaganda driving people into fear. And then, of course, along with the fear comes always aggression. And then comes the counter-propaganda telling an entirely different story, and people get so emotional about it. It's disrupting relationships, it's disrupting friendships. Now, how to deal with that? That's basically, Diana asked me whether I could talk about it. Bring the attention back to yourself as good as you can. Of course, we may forget again and again and again, but then the moment you remember, you just come back. And when you are with people, when you get into confrontation, or even if you don't get into confrontation, you simply see how people think and feel and act, and it appalls you, then remind yourself, you are a divine being. You are pure light. Nothing can touch that. And actually, the other is the same thing. It's just momentarily overshadowed with all kinds of personal feelings, ideas, actions. It's intense right now. What makes the situation more difficult is when we look at people and think it shouldn't be like this. They shouldn't be like this. They shouldn't think like this. How is it possible that they think like this? We have to learn to accept. And even if people whom we knew before, and we thought they are quite reasonable, and now suddenly we think they are not reasonable, then you can hope it's just a momentary thing, but accept that for the time being, they are the way they are. The more we are resisting the fact, the more we are being pulled into either counter-aggression or depression, sadness, getting all tense about it. It's very intense now. It's like the forces of the light and the darkness are both very intense, and it's an immense struggle, and people are in the midst of it. So it's an intense time, but an intense time has also a total opportunity in it. Every moment we remember and we take the trouble, instead of getting swept along into the emotions of the situations, but take that step back, turn the attention back to the self, to that unmovable part of yourself. Every time you're growing, you're getting stronger, essentially remaining the same, and yet there is a continuously increasing strength of the expression of that. And along with the expression of the experience of that. So we actually live in a wonderful period for that. We can make use of every moment to become stronger and stronger. Of course, Diana, when loved ones, close ones, suddenly you are in one camp and you find them in another camp, then don't quarrel with them. Let them be, let them go their way. If you don't need to be much together, then maybe you take a bit more distance. But even if you have to be together a lot, then learn to accept that, okay, that's their way, that's how they learn, that's how they grow. Accept them the way they are. And then it's already much easier. I'm not saying it's going to be easy all the time. You're living in a difficult time and it doesn't look like it's over so quickly. It will be over. It will go and something very beautiful will come out of it. How long it takes, I don't know. But for the time being, not to get overwhelmed by it, just remember to come back. And even if you remember and somehow you fail, don't get depressed. The very attempt is doing something. And then you try it again, you connect again, you do it again. You come back home and relax. Learn to relax. It's like the key word. When you are alone, it's easier. Remind yourself to connect and relax. Relax. And more you can bring that into all the living situations. If you remember to relax, already everything is so much easier. And sometimes strange energies are emanating from people. The more it's not that you have to somehow learn to make stronger and stronger and stronger protections. The more you can be at ease, at peace and relaxed, the more you become transparent. And whatever comes is sort of like just going through, like a puff of air. The more you are capable to connect and relax, the more you become aware. It's then not simply a theory, but you become aware that actually what you are, your essence is untouchable. Nothing can hurt it. And even if you forget it, even if you are being pulled in the current, sooner or later you become aware. And when you become aware, don't waste your time beating yourself up for having forgotten again and having been pulled into it. But at that moment, you just let go. Okay, got me again? Got into it, so what? Right now, I'm here, I'm now, I connect and relax, and you are again new and fresh and beautiful. We are here for learning. And right now we have lots and lots and lots of opportunities to learn. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes we succeed, sometimes we don't. If we learn to not take it so serious, but have more of a playful spirit, then it doesn't seem to be such a heavy burden, such a difficult story to deal with it. Remember, you are a divine being, you are pure light. And when you forget and the memory comes back, just connect with that. And it will give you more and more self-confidence. And as the self-confidence is growing, the easier it becomes. And the easier you can neutralize just by being, no matter what kind of energy that is fired onto you. All right. Let me leave the subject at that for now. So then I'm asking, is there anybody who would like to come in, who would like to talk? Please come.
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Dayal.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
I have a question. My friend recently passed away.
Yeah.
He was 60 years old, but he have a good health and no bad habits. And he was very...
Dayal, I have
Yeah.
difficulties to understand you. Something with your sound is a bit difficult.
Okay. Okay, I will do it different way. Just a minute. Now is better?
Oh yes, I can understand you much better.
Okay, yeah. So my friend passed away recently, and he was 60 years old, but he have good health and no bad habits. And main things, he was spiritually on the spiritual way. He was meditating, and he have some spiritual plans. But it happened he get a serious disease and quickly passed away.
Yes.
And I understand that we come here to learn, to have special experience in these places. And I understand when the people pass away, when they was living unconsciousness life, if they was not spiritually, they was living somehow. So it means they cannot learn anymore. They have to go some other place. But if people going pass it away, if they are on the spiritual path and have some plans and desire to live more, how does it happen and why? I think he can get more experience by this life, but it happened, he went away. What can you say about?
You wonder why should somebody who is alert like this and could learn more pass away suddenly?
Yes, on spiritual way especially.
Yes. I mean, I cannot answer you like that's why, because every story is unique and different. But remember, the personality that is manifesting is just a temporary borrowed entity. You are not that person. You are what you are. You are actually never incarnated. You just project an aspect of you in this world that lives for some time and collects experiences, and in course of the process develops that pseudo entity as if it was an entity separate, but actually it's not. And you as a being at a certain time may just decide you withdraw whatever you're projecting into this time-space continuum. For whatever reasons, from that perspective, it may look very different from your human calculating perspective, it may look like a waste. Poor man, he could still have learned so much more, but maybe this being that appeared as that man, as your friend, has learned what they wanted to learn in this particular situation, and somehow is putting the attention quite in a different place to continue to unfold in a very different way. So I cannot say what happened to your friend, but we cannot calculate like this, thinking, oh, what a waste. He should have stayed longer, could have gone far in his spirituality. Whatever we learn, wherever we get, it's never lost. It's not that the same man has to come back and start all over again because somehow may not have reached far enough. Whatever you learn, whatever growth there is, that comes along with that consciousness and this being withdrawn again in your being. And that being is that much the richer for this experience. May project again into this world, into this time space, but may also not. But there are infinite possibilities. Our little world is just one way of consciousness expressing itself, unfolding and learning more about itself. Essentially staying the same and yet miraculously getting richer and richer through the experience. Maybe that being had already decided in the beginning of that lifetime of your friend, at that point in time, I'm going to withdraw my consciousness. And so it happened. Maybe that decision may have been made recently, but we cannot look at these stories like gain or loss or waste or profit, or it just doesn't fit.
Also, I'm thinking about myself.
Yeah.
Similar situation. If I'm developing spiritually, if I have certain plans and also spiritual plans, it's no guarantee that I will not suddenly pass away. So it is accidental, or is it just unpredictable for personal, for each one person?
Right. There is the destiny, but destiny can be changed. Whereas when the decision comes from your true self, then it's unpredictable, and then there is nothing you can do about it. Nothing wrong having your direction, that you know in which direction you go, that if you don't feel lost, should I go left, should I go right, should I go up or down, or all the time, but that you can follow a certain direction, but then even going that path is already, you have already reached. And then how far that goes and how long it goes on, it doesn't ultimately matter much. But being conscious from moment to moment, that's the best you can do. And when this magic show is over for you, when you withdraw your consciousness out of this magic show, then it's the right point. Whether you have reached all the goals that you had created in your personal head or not, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I also thinking about my childhood. It was quite difficult and a lot of kind of difficult situation happening. Yeah, and I think if I'm pass away and I have to come back again for these childhood difficulties, So, but it's also kind of experience, and it's also spiritual way. Even I'm not thinking it's spiritual. It's also very important to do again,
Right.
maybe.
Right, right. Nobody compels you to come back if you don't want to. So it's not that compulsion that people say who believe in the reincarnation, in the law of reincarnation. There is some kind of reincarnation, but it's not that you are compelled to come back to. But you, as a being, as what you are, may decide, okay, there are more lessons to learn, so let me project a new projection into this world to learn some more lessons. Fully conscious that it won't be easy all the time. But, I mean, the best you can do for the future is to be in the now. You don't have to plan what to do exactly now in order to set up a next life the way you would like it. You're living here and now, and the more you're living consciously, intensely, in that present, in this timelessness of the now, in that only point where you are touching reality, that is by far the best you can do also for the future. So don't worry about being incarnated or not again, or in what way. If you as a being decide to come in a human form and go through a childhood, then you will do so. Knowing that it's not for nothing that you go through all those difficulties. In course of the process, you accumulate, you collect something very precious, and nothing of that is lost. Not a drop of the pain we are going through, not a drop of the efforts we are making is in vain. It builds up something very beautiful and precious.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, understand.
You're welcome. Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hi, good morning, Werner. It's Udi.
Hello, Udi.
Hi. I think that at least my life is exposed to like a stream of questions every day, every time.
Yeah.
And I'm juggling between those questions.
Yeah.
And I chose many years ago to look on few of them on, let's say, it's the spiritual inquiry.
Yeah.
Spiritual way or whatever it is. And I'm asking myself from time to time if I am not bypassing by that the question, if I am not dealing with the question with, I will call it the normal process of inquiring myself in a psychological way or any other option. And by that, using this pathway of spirituality wrongly.
Mm-hmm. I'm not quite getting the question. You think if you try to avoid the question and deal with them in a spiritual way, you are missing something, or what are you saying?
Maybe I will connect it to what you have started this noon, is the call to observe on this moment, to be connected to this moment.
Right.
But my tendency, from the more usual tendency, is to hold, is to possess.
Yeah, yeah.
And I have to say to myself, really in a simple word, look, this is a possession. This is a process of holding what you needed, what the need for that, instead of trying to, as you say, to relax in the moment.
Yeah.
And look what happened.
Right.
And I'm saying to myself, well, relax. That's all.
Yes.
You're not, trying to look on the other way that maybe can give me resolution to some problems. Like, look, you're making the process of holding or possessing things.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Of course, if you get into the problems and work and put a lot of energy in it, you may resolve certain problems that you may not necessarily resolve if you get less interested into them. But in the long run, does it matter whether you resolve all those problems or not? Those that are important, you will anyhow, you cannot avoid. You will have to deal with them and find a way. But maybe many times we are putting ideas and problems in our head that are not so important that we go to the end of it. And you are living much more intensely by being consciously conscious in the now. That doesn't mean you cannot resolve problems. You can live consciously in the now and resolve your problems. But if your priority becomes more that you are consciously alive here now, then maybe you get less and less interested in so many details, whether they get resolved or not. It's not that at the end you have a debt for not having done that, but because you have spent your time much more worthy being consciously alive now than being worried about so many details.
I understand, but I'm questioning myself is when I'm sitting and saying to myself, just be in this moment.
Yes.
And look what happened now.
Yeah.
And as you said on the different things, what happened now will remain with you, will have an impact on you without making any action of effort.
Yes.
And my tendency is to make an effort.
Right.
My daily reaction, make an effort.
Right. That's how we have been brought up, that we have to make effort all the time in order to spend our time worthy. Otherwise, we somehow miss life if we are not always struggling to achieve something. And I think we are very well advised to let a bit go of that and learn to be more just at ease, at peace in the present. And then you still can playfully achieve things. You still can put ideas in the current that you want to try to achieve this, that you want to do that, that you want to resolve that problem. But you do that in a very different, more intense and more conscious way if you keep that connection with the timeless with you. It's not that you are wasting your time, that you are wasting your life connecting with that. If you are consciously conscious here, now, there is such an intensity there, much greater than if we are all absorbed in our problems and trying to achieve and make big efforts. And then we still can make efforts, playfully. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. That compulsion to be successful will also not be so strong anymore. And when you see out of habit that you feel like you cannot just let it be, you have to make an effort with it, then you can remind yourself, okay, just come back home, breathe, relax, and watch it rather than trying to force something.
I have the feeling that even I will call it my need to achieve something is also true in this quiet area of my life. But from outside, I can have a call from outside. You don't have anything to say about it. What is your reaction about that? And inside of myself, I feel that there's no need to do anything, just to be there.
Yes.
So this ambivalency is finding me almost every day.
Yes, of course it will come in. Then you turn spiritual, and then the habitual way of functioning we also bring into the spiritual path. And then we have all kinds of ideas, and we read about things and hear about things and put goals and have imaginations about it. And then we spiritually again struggle and want to achieve it. And for a certain amount of the way, this may be very helpful in order to get moving. But then there comes the point where you can let go of that, where you don't need to have these castles created in the head, what should come out of it, but rather be with the curiosity of a child, of just be quiet and wait and see what happens, all by itself. But the habit of trying to control, trying to get somewhere will sneak in all the time. But when you see it, then you let also go of that.
I agree, and I found a lot of strength in the observation of to move from one point of thinking to another point of behaving, and find it well in my life, or positive in my life.
Right, you have a lot of restraint, you feel, a lot of blockings that it doesn't go so easy. It's normal. Habits that we have accumulated while growing up, they are extremely strong. The little kid is so totally open and learns to function in a certain way. And then they are so deeply ingrained, they have their power, they have their momentum. And even if we start to see, they are not so constructive than what we have thought. And it's better to replace those habits with other habits of functioning, of existing. Then it won't go necessarily so easy, simply because the habit has a force, has a momentum. But even if something is very strong, if we look at it again and again, and let go again and again, gradually it's losing its power, and eventually the same thing that may have been looked very difficult becomes very easy.
Yeah. So meaningful words.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
You're
Hari Om.
welcome. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come. Nobody wants to talk? I see your name, Ilona. I'm not asking you to come in if you don't want to. I just send you my best wishes that you quickly recover and soon can be up and about again. I see somebody else tries to come in. I don't know who it is. Galaxy A7. Seems not to be intentional. Of course, but we have been talking with Udi just now. It is very common. That's how we learn to function. That's how our mind was formed, was molded. We have to be achievers, get somewhere, do something, make a mark in the world. And then becoming spiritual also. The same attitude will come. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I've been functioning very long like this. I want to get somewhere. I want enlightenment. I want this. I want that. I want samadhi. I want. If we can't help it, then okay, go, struggle. Eventually, you give up. Eventually, it will come crashing down. But if we can't help it, then okay, struggle. What is needed is not difficult. It's simply you're not so easily ready to accept it. All we have to learn is to bring in one way or another the attention home, to the now, to that timelessness, whether it is through self-inquiry, through the traditional jnana, whether it is through yoga, whether it is through devotion to God, somehow or other we have to connect and then learn to let go. And the earlier we learn to do that, then the gentler becomes our process. Then we don't have to painfully struggle so much. But if we can't help to struggle, then we struggle. Eventually becoming aware we don't have to achieve something. We just can learn to prevent, to waste away our life force in all directions, channel it into being conscious now, and relaxing them. And then the experience of that starts to unfold all by itself. And there is no limit to it, and it's not that we have to achieve it. It happens by itself if we stop preventing it. Okay. Lutz, did you try to come in? Your picture is here.
Yes.
Hello, Lutz.
You gave the keyword of struggling to prevent it to happen. That's means usually one thinks that one has to do something in order to reach somewhere where actually, in my understanding, and I think also that your understanding, one has to undo the blocks one has set in order that nothing can happen, that this divine energy cannot flow freely. So your method is being in the now and hold the attention in the now as a kind of basic and extended practice as long as I can understand. Maybe you have some other second steps which you're not telling us, but
the secret ones.
the secret unlockers now which are not for the public. I don't know, but no. I mean, my question goes a little bit in another direction. I will explain that. When I met you a long time ago, I heard what you're saying, and you were basically saying the same stuff like you are saying today.
Mhm.
And I thought this very boring. This being just in the now, and it's not exciting. It's not something happening.
Mm.
So that was long ago what I thought. But now I think I matured a little bit, and I enjoy your practice. And whenever I go about life in my everyday life, I also try always to kind of come back into the now, and I watch my thoughts. And when I'm kind of drifting off, then I try to come back to the now. But now comes the big but.
But
If I set some time away and sit by myself and be in the now, it's kind of pleasant.
Mhm.
It is feels light, feels not so much burdened or something like this.
Yeah.
But still, from my other practices which I have done, which are more related in connecting with a teacher and letting somehow his energy interact with mine and doing something in me in this process, or moving something in me in this process, I miss this in this just be here and the now. For me, be here and the now feels like I'm getting comfortable with myself as it is, which is nice. But
Yeah.
for example, I have some tensions in the shoulders, and I think it's related to something.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of lifting up of the shoulders, it is some kind of fear about being here on Earth, or some kind of old stuff. Anyway, it's stuck in there, and
Yeah.
whenever I get aware of it, I just let go and think, what a nonsense, why you are holding up there. And certainly there's a lot of energy kind of blocked here. But
Yeah.
if I do your practice, it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if I, for example, would do some interaction with somebody who is living on a higher energy, I think it would forcefully go in there sooner or later and kind of get something moving.
Mm.
But I'm also most probably I'm also afraid it's some kind of deep rooted thing, and when I just sit by myself, it just stays as it is. Maybe I have to sit longer. Maybe I have to wait 1 year or something like that, and gradually it will go away. I mean, I'm putting this thing in the shoulder just as an example.
Right. Right.
But in my spiritual journey, I found out that a lot of stuff is stored in the muscles, in the body somehow,
Yeah.
and therefore also it feels relaxed, but really, actually, it is not. There's a lot of tensions in the body,
Right.
and it's very difficult to kind of assess these tensions, and one only understands these tensions when they are finally gone, when somehow the emotional charge which is stored in these muscle tensions, when that gets released, and then usually it's a big thing. It's a kind of wow, and but by being just in the now, just by yourself, I doubt that I have the kind of I doubt that this is really happening. So my criticism or my question is, and does this really work?
Yes.
I mean, is it really? I mean, all these tensions, they have a reason. There are some feelings, some traumatic experiences in us which have created these tensions, and these tensions, they hinder the happy flow.
Right.
And yeah, so you understand what my
Right. And to your question, does that really work? Yes, it does work, but it's not so easy for the mind to accept just to stay with it and not seeing that there is a process going on, while subtly still a process goes on. Subtly still something changes. But being what I'm saying, being in the now and relaxed doesn't mean you have to be now all the time rather inactive. And if you want to add some active part to your practice, then by all means, if it helps you to do some exercises, if it helps you to do some special practice to loosen up your shoulders, for example, or whatever else, what problem you find, if you feel attracted to it, then by all means, that stands not at all in contradiction with learning to be here now and be relaxed. And then you said, but then maybe in other practices you invoke some higher power that comes in and does the job, which like something comes in and removes that thing, something
no,
like that.
well, it's more. I think it's more something by concentrating on this higher power. I'm kind
Yeah,
of synchronizing my energy to this higher power,
right.
and then spontaneously, this higher power works in me and kind of pushes out this thing. I would describe it in some way. So I have to first kind of connect with the power and then allow it to play somehow,
Yes,
allow
right.
it to do its thing.
And you can give out that call, and it's in no way contradictory to your being here now, at ease, at peace, relaxed. You still can. If you have a concrete idea of some divinity who should do that, you can do call to that divinity. But you can also very abstractly just open up to the forces of life, to the forces of light, that somehow that they kindle the healing power in my body to do the job. I mean, you are connected with all that. And for some people, this kind of ideas, they don't work. They find it's a bit strange. But for other people, it comes very natural to open up and to call to higher powers, to call to the healing white dragons, if it has to be, and come and do their thing. Nothing wrong with that. It's not a contradiction. What I'm saying is basically the essence of all the practices, that the practices should help you to connect with the timelessness of the present and to teach you to relax in it. And how you come to that point can be connected with all kinds of different practices. And even when you are more consciously in the present, if it's natural for you, you can very well continue. Whatever other practice you feel is very constructive and helpful in your own path, in your own way of developing. Whether you just focus on the essence, yourself, or whether you call to a higher power, actually you're connecting with the same essence. And for some minds, it's easier to just leave all other possible higher powers away and just come to the essence. And for others, it's easier to accept, okay, there are all these hierarchies of levels and beings, and I can also consciously connect with those, and that also will help on my path to bring about something that is standing in the way, that have a bit difficulties to remove. It's not a must, but you can. So it's not a contradiction. It's not either or.
Yeah, in my case, I think that the problem is simply laziness and being wanting to stay as I am. And at this is one end of the spectrum, and the other end of the spectrum is that's kind of crazy. I'm wasting my life away. I should kind of try to get as many divine forces involved in my thing, or try my best to change something.
Yeah.
And somehow I'm oscillating a little bit, and the just be here now practice at least on the short time, or in the immediate perception of myself of it seems to do not very much. It seems to kind of make my life and my being as I am in a way more happy, kind of more light, but not so much. The movement is not there. There's not some kind of big sparky bang or something like that. There's no no really big excitement coming, or kind of wow, a release of some burden I have been carrying for hundreds of years, or something like that. Whereas in this other practice, involve some interaction with teachers or doing some energy practice, usually it's quite fleshy and it's quite tangible what's going on.
Right.
Whereas the awareness practice, which you promote, seems at the first sight not do very much.
Yeah, at the first sight, but that first sight may not be correct. It subtly, continuously, something is going on. The more you are capable of being consciously conscious, consciously connected, and learn to let go in it, the more subtly changes are happening all the time. They are not flashy. Don't think, "Ooh, big release and great experience," but in the long run, they may do more than the flashy experiences. May go deeper, but for a long time we may not even be aware. And you, as you perceive yourself, you still keep on changing, but as it's a gentle process, you are also not too much aware of that. Suddenly you may realize just little things. Oh, actually, if I remember in a situation like this before, I was reacting so much more and so much more violent, and then you get some pointers, something is still happening. But on the surface, it may look it's very little compared to all the time you may invest it, but it goes much more profound. And eventually, it may go beyond a certain barrier, and then you become aware, there has been much more going on than I was ever aware. It's not necessarily the flashy, exciting experiences that do the profound work, but rather that those gentle attempts of being conscious, not get lazy in being conscious, but just being alert and conscious. That has the tendency to do the job much more profoundly. But it may take some time until it's manifesting, until we become aware of it. that there is something happening.
Okay.
Anyhow, I keep on repeating, it's not a contradiction. It's not that if somebody does other practices, that it's a must that you stop that if you want to do what I'm talking about. It can always be combined. And everybody has to find their own way and choose for oneself what feels right, what feels natural. Okay, shall we leave it at that?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hari Om, Hari Om. Is there anybody else who would like to come? Please come. Thirty-four people here. Nobody wants to talk? Actually, I'm not surprised that there are, in a way, less and less questions of the people who come regularly, because basically, I'm always talking a bit the same stuff. And Lutz, he said, well, this is the basic teaching, the basic practice, and actually, it's the practice for the beginner, the one who has done it already for some time, and so-called advanced sadhak. If we just learn to do that simple thing, to somehow, whatever help we are using, to somehow consciously connect with our source, with that source of life, and learn more and more to relax in that, then this is basically all the job we need to do, no matter where we so-called are in our spiritual path, whether it's low level, middle level, high level. There is not really such a thing. Hello, Mark.
Hi. Yeah, I was really appreciating what Lutz was saying. I think this, I've been doing things for quite a while too. And
one
and
can say that, huh?
Yeah.
This man is an ex-Zen monk.
And no, but with the passing of my father, which I mentioned last week, it was really nice to, whatever happened, right, to hold
Yes.
that space. And it was a wonderful meeting on Zoom with my family, and my mother arrived, who hadn't spoken with my father for 40 years. And it was a great healing for a long story. And it was very nice to facilitate that. And I felt like that was really, yeah, something that could just happen because of all those boring years of nothing happening.
Yes. Right. Right.
No, it was great. And now I've had a wonderful week in a very unusual week for me, a very bright week. And I wanted to ask a question, and I was watching, and you've talked about this before, it's about cities.
Yeah.
I saw, you notice I joined Facebook a couple of weeks ago, so I saw this I saw this Zen teacher advertising something in Rinzai Zen, and in the end he kind of expressed that at the end of the retreat he's also teaching cities.
I see. Yeah.
And I immediately had a funny reaction, because I find my experience a lot was very spontaneous. I can't say I was performing something amazing healing, but You know, on the other hand, you know, when I first started massaging people or doing shiatsu, I just put my hands on them and something happened. And to give it a form, I studied shiatsu.
Mhm.
And that was helpful in
Yes.
some ways, maybe
Yes.
not as magical, I don't know. but this idea of cultivating cities, you know, it seems to be the eye getting in there and
Yes.
wanting some power.
Right.
And it's a different way. And I felt like Lutz was asking the question from both angles a little bit, and maybe I am too. Just, you know, when I want to kind of re-experience these healing qualities, is that sort of the I saying, yeah, there you go. You want power.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, or is that really just coming back and going on to the next thing, which is how I understand, you know, my experience in Arunachala with you, is just coming back, and these qualities come and go through the open spirit, and not through a cultivation, and that's really a pure path to trust.
To trust.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying it is absolutely forbidden to try to develop certain powers, but it's tricky because the temptation is then to really get away from the essence and caught up in the me. Personally, I'm after all quite a guy, being capable of doing this, and tempted to show off in front of others to strengthen that sense of me and the others and the separation what comes along. But basically, what is a city? A city is a ability, a capacity, and everything that people do that they are good at, you could call a city, simply because most of the things that we are do, so many others also can do it, and we don't make a big fuss about it. And then if we can do things like playing an instrument very special and the others not, then it's already more tempting that me, I can do that, and all the adulation that one gets, or healing. But that doesn't mean it's wrong to be a musician. If a musician learns through the music to connect, then that art of expressing the self can be such a beautiful thing and inspire so many other people also to connect. And the same thing with healing. If that is one's vocation to become a healer and gets good at healing, the temptation may be there that one gets proud about it and the ego is boosting up. But if we are aware of it, then it can become a very beautiful expression of the self. The self is whole and healed all the time. And if you let that flow to somebody else and help them on their path, then there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's simply right. Like this, you have developed it because you have learned it, and fine. There is nothing wrong with it. It's good to be alert. Is there the old guy coming in, or is it really a pure expression of the self? And if you know that, it will happen again and again. That old habit, how we are function, will have the tendency to sneak in subtler and subtler and subtler. But if we know about it, then we can also catch it again sooner or later and let it go. That's how it goes. Simply going out to deliberately develop cities, the basic motivation most of the time is already that after that I can show off in front of the others. And so this is not, that's why generally in the tradition it's not recommended to go after that. But I cannot say it is basically wrong if by learning to do so-called miraculous things, that helps you to connect with yourself and you are alert that you are not boosting your ego Okay, I can accept the possibilities, but it's not something that I would recommend, because the temptation is very strong. On the other hand, if you get deeper and stronger, then things start to happen. And for you, it's not the city, it's just something that is happening. Like what you described now, what happened in your family, your influence has certainly done a lot that it was possible. But you didn't think I'm using now my city, but you just had that urge that you want to connect, and it felt right, and it was something beautiful and pure, and then it's not a miracle.
Very good. Okay. No, thank you. It's a good way to clarify it. I think it's always the challenge whenever anything starts to feel skillful or you get some kind of recognition. But when I see it advertised in Facebook, I felt some kind of judgment, and I didn't really want to judge somebody else for selling cities, but I also felt it was somehow I want to get him off my Facebook list or something, you know, because it kind of felt like a pressure or something, right? A kind of lure. Yeah.
Anyhow, it's right. You don't have to judge, but you can just know for yourself, see something, and then you feel, oh, this is certainly not my cup of tea, and with that, done with it. Let them go their way and do their experiences that they have to do.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hario, Hario. There is thunder over there, and it's quite dark around the mountain. Maybe suddenly rain comes, and hope that I'm at a place, if it comes, where it's not dripping through the leaves. Otherwise, I will have to run and get an umbrella. Anyhow, is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come. Okay, then I just add something more to the subject we have been talking about. After all, consciousness is manifesting in this world to become self-conscious and to express itself. Beingness expressing itself in manifestation, in this manifestation, in so many other manifestations. And part of it is that skills are being developed, and that's beautiful. Creativity is manifesting. And basically, it's absolutely nothing wrong. It's simply, one has always the choice, am I making my expression into a means to get more person, me absorbed, or more self-absorbed? There is always that choice from moment to moment, in little things and in bigger things. But imagine a world where what we call now is cities is very common, it's very normal. People read each other's thoughts, people can maybe even materialize things, people can levitate. But if everybody can do so, then there is no big deal, and there is not basically anything wrong with the self expressing itself in those ways. The difficulty is coming that we are trying to develop things and thinking of others and want to be me, I want to be better than others. And so I get after that the feedback that I deserve of appreciation, of respect, of maybe fear even. And that is unhelpful for our getting spiritually deeper, to get closer to just purely being. Okay, I see Ben is coming in. Ben, do you want to say something? Can you hear me, Ben? I don't know, Ben, whether you wanted to come in, because I don't know what you are saying, because only some faint sounds are coming through. So if you want to come in, then maybe you should somehow try to get a better audio connection. Or then if not, if you didn't really want to come in, please,
I'm very sorry. There was a mistake.
then simply turn off your microphone, because otherwise it's interfering. Okay, is there anybody else who would like to come? I see Rebecca.
Werner?
Hello, Rebecca.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, Hariom.
Hariom.
I would like I would like to ask you, it's according what you are saying now, I have a problem with a friend. The other day I was talking with my mentor and he was talking about, actually there is a kind of a spiritual promiscuity where people start to make short courses for whatever, no, and after a short period of time start to do some healing sessions with people and all that kind of stuff. And I'm having that problem with a very close friend. No, she never focused on a path, and now she's with the Akash records, another kind of and when you talk with her, she shows herself very serious, no, that she's talking with her higher self and that kind of she's going to help people and all that kind of stuff. So when I'm with her, and she starts to talk in that way, I decide always to be in silence and not say anything, because if I say what I really think, I can be for sure. I think it's gonna be to make a distance between us, no?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, when I see also that kind of attitude,
yeah,
it also provokes in myself a kind of rejecting her, no, and many people that is in the same mood, for saying in a some way, no, because maybe it's also my problem, I don't know, no, but I can feel like lack of honesty.
Yeah.
So I don't know, and sometimes I ask to myself, maybe is me who is wrong and not them. So if you can say something about that, please.
Maybe nobody is wrong. Now, it is something that seems to be facilitated now, and it's getting extremely popular. What do you describe? Like channeling and talking to angels and telling things from the Akashic Chronic and from the higher self. And some of it may be totally serious and a lot of it not to be taken too serious. Right. I mean, for many people, it seems right now this is a period where this is so attractive and easily one can get some result that somehow connect in that way with subtler levels and try to get wisdom from there. And it may also help them in their own life. But of course, the tendency with all these things, with what we have been before talking about with Mark, it's very tempting to have very great ideas about oneself as a person. I can do that. I can be like a channel for higher forces for the others who cannot do, and be very proud of it. And sometimes it may get a bit unpleasant to, to deal then with people like this. I guess you are right that there is no point in starting an argument, but maybe once in a while you can still put a drop in and point to something. Why? Okay, but I'm actually more interested in coming truly to the essence than to all these little sweet droplets that we can collect on the way. If it happens that maybe temporary or maybe for this lifetime you are getting more distance because of that, then so be it. Huh? It's not that you have to deny to be true and honest with yourself in order to keep something. It's not that you have to somehow reject her and create troubles and create that distance. Be true to yourself. But if something is really too much for you and then you feel you need to say something, then you have the right to say so, not looking for quarreling, but just because something is too much of offensive for you. But often we can also just think, after all, what does it matter? Let them think like this. I stick to my path, and then you may also be fine with yourself and you still can be friends. But if this brings about that you cannot more be friends, then we can also accept that such things happen, and so be it. You get more of a distance. And you may meet other people with whom you feel more in harmony, and they become more important on your way. It's not something that we have to cling to, a friendship. It's two people, they are going on a way and meet closely again and again, or spend a lot of time on the same way, but maybe only meet every now and then, and both get some support and joy out of it. And then if the development goes in a different way, then it may not happen. So and then it's not something that we have to hold on to and think, oh, it's such a pity if we are, our lives getting a bit more distance, then so what?
Yeah, that's what I decide to do, not to take a pause, no, and say, okay, let's things make its way, no, and not to force anything. So
yes,
yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do, no, and trying to be honest with myself also,
yes.
no.
Right.
So yeah, but sometimes it's difficult, no, because it's like,
yeah. Then the little devil comes up and wants
yeah,
to come up.
yeah.
I remember we talked about a similar thing with your father and with your family.
Yeah.
And it's now with the friends again, the same thing. The main importance is that you can be true to yourself, and then you are fine, then you are at peace. You don't have to pretend something in order to please somebody, in order that they are happy with you. And if in course of the process, it may get more of a distance, then it's not a tragedy.
Yeah.
If you don't make it into a tragedy.
Yeah, thank you for the observation, no, because that is very related to what you say before. Maybe it's a habit I have made on myself, not trying to be pleasant with everybody.
Yeah.
So maybe I have to observe to that much more on all my relationships. So yeah.
Just be true to yourself, and then the relationship happens. But then we also, if we feel at ease in ourselves, then it's also not that feeling of the need of many friendships. And friendships happen, they come, it's joyous, and they go their own way. But there is not the feeling, I need them in order to feel complete.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Werner.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. I see that you are
Hari
doing
Om.
lots of yoga camps and stuff. Huh?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot, but I mean, I'm also working on that because, as you say before, I'm putting the right effort, because nowadays is, on one hand, is quite difficult because it takes a lot of time to move things, because many people are scared on going to studios. Other doesn't want to come in because they don't want to wear the mask.
Yeah.
So it's like it's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do things, and well, slowly.
Right. We just have to
Yeah.
take the situation as it is, and then we do what we can. Huh?
Yeah.
Right,
The only
right.
thing is what I'm working on, because sometimes I realize after that I put too much effort on that, and I realize that that's not the right attitude. So try to be in the middle, and
right.
Because if not, sometimes I became frustrated when I see that things takes a lot of effort to move, So I'm trying to be much more present, and if things have to work, it's okay. If it is not the time, it is not the time. Yeah. So
yes, that's a
I'm
good
on that
attitude.
now.
Right. Very good.
Yeah.
Continue like this.
Yeah.
Wish you
Thank
well.
you.
Hari
Thank you
Om.
so much. Hari
Hari
Om.
If there is somebody else who would like to come in, we have a little more time. We can take a little more time. I think slowly rain is coming closer. So let's stop the official satsang for today.